Hey everyone, this is Willie Standiford, your host with the Liberty Revolution podcast, and in this episode I will be interviewing Republican candidate for Missouri State Representative, District 116, Ryan Cooper. The idea of this is to give you, the voters of St. Francis, Madison County, of District 116, a background of the candidate, what his ideologies are, and what he's all about, and to give you, the voters, more information to be able to cast your ballot on August 6th. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video, and if you enjoy this, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to share it with your friends. I'm trying to get the message out and the word out about all of these candidates that I'm interviewing. So, thank you guys again for the support, and let's go ahead and get into the interview. Yeah, I don't know, like shortly after the Trump assassination attempt, like I posted what I said, violence. We shouldn't be nobody should be saying that this is okay. Like, it's never okay to try to kill somebody. I mean,
No.
call it an assassination, political strategy, whatever you want to call it. Like it, I don't think there's ever a justifying murder. Now, self-defense. Even the Bible says the Bible will defend self. I don't mean to make that religious, but reading through it, it's the I don't. The Old Testament's pretty clear that you can use you know you can use lethal force to meet lethal force, basically.
Yeah.
That's my view on it.
Okay.
I think it's I don't think God's gonna look at it any different if he's not gonna look at it as murder if you're defending yourself, because murder has the intent, that mindset element. I feel like, I don't know, I could be wrong.
No, I think it's appropriate to bring up the Old Testament if you're trying to support laws. I think a lot of our laws are based on Old Testament principles, and there's some pretty good rules in there. But
Yeah.
we definitely are given the right to defend our own, to the death.
Yeah, I don't. They're trying to. From my point of view, the left is trying to make self-defense illegal. Or there's even New Jersey you have a duty to retreat. It's a duty to retreat state, which basically means if someone's breaking into your house, you have to legally you have to find every means necessary to get out before you use lethal force, which is I don't know, man. Seems kind of weird. I'd much if someone's breaking into my house, it's best to just assume they're gonna, trying to use lethal force.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like that stems from this idea that there's a daddy state and a nanny state, and that's where the responsibility lies, is this governing authority to make sure that we're safe, and it's preposterous.
Well, I mean, the government. I think the federal government's only duty is to protect people and property. If their laws aren't doing that, then now a lot of people try to misconstrue people and property to be well, gun control is it's protecting people. But if to protect people you have to infringe on their basic constitutional rights, and you can't. It seems pretty clear to me. Don't infringe the Constitution, no matter what. In my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I am in full agreement. That's that's the only line. It's the only line that we have. The only thing we have to fall back on, the Constitution. It's the only defense we have against, bullies. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, the federal government's become the bully. I'm probably labeled as anti-government, but I'm just we just need a smaller government. We need something less centralized, because I think the size of the government is also tearing the country apart. we can't afford to have such a big government. Like we're already so far in debt. Like
Yeah.
financially speaking, like budget wise, it wouldn't even make sense. Like
Yeah.
if I was running a business and I had all these agencies that were like inefficient, I would probably want to consolidate them or get rid of some of them so that the other agencies would be more efficient. And like I think the federal government should just handle foreign policy pretty much and
Yeah.
basic, it should be a general framework that binds the states together, and then the states operate as sovereign.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful idea. But right now, the federal government is the largest employer of people in human history.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's the largest organization it's ever been. Um, so we're a long way from what you just described, which I would love to exist in that reality, but we don't exist in that reality. We exist in a reality where we've somehow ended up down the animal farm the path. Have you read Animal Farm?
Yeah, I've listened to bits and pieces of it. I've read 1984.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on today too.
Yeah. Well, in Animal Farm, you have a tyrannical boss, and the people, they get rid of that boss, and they implement rules and a new ruling class. And then by the end of the book, it's a very brief book, the new ruling class is completely mimicking the behavior and appearance of the evil tyrant that they just overthrown. And so that's what the cycle is. We just every time we try to fix something, the federal government seems to grow and grow and grow, and it seems to be looking more and more like these governments that assassinate their political opponents and put their citizens in jail for minor infractions because they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's just messed up, man. Like everything I'm seeing now, I'm young, man. Everything I'm seeing, it's not what the country I grew up in. What?
Yeah, it's not what they told us it was.
Yeah, I was told growing up that this is a great country. We've had to fight for our freedom. This and that, which is true. I think to a certain extent we're getting to a certain point where people are gonna have to man up and make a decision like what they're going to do to uphold the Constitution, because the Constitution's going through many trials right now, and it's being tested, and people are being tested, and I think the average person's failing right now because we're not pushing back against this tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
We have the right to dispel or displace the government that has become destructive to us. We run the government. The government answers to us, and it's completely flipped around now. We have to answer to the government. We have to pay taxes that most people no one's consenting to these taxes. Nobody agrees that we're being taxed fairly. It'd be different if we knew where the taxes were going. If I paid taxes and they told me, okay, your contribution to taxes this year went to this, and they gave me an itemized list of where my money was going, it'd be different. But it just goes in their general ledger. The government prints more money when it needs to spend more money, and it just devalues the currency for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Just
taxes at this point, they're not even really paying down our debt. We really are just being taxed to keep us down at this point, because the majority of their spending comes from deficit spending. Them issuing new currency, devaluing.
So
us.
they would never even.
They wouldn't even. They don't even need our taxes. Why? They have you ever been in an industry like a car dealership, a good one, and people start using or a medic, or a hospital, um, people start using like lingo, like words that you don't know, and you feel
Yeah.
like immediately they're talking above your head. And sometimes you wonder like how much of this is just like lingo to keep me from knowing what they're talking about, and how much of it is actual, industry specific lingo that's necessary. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times people start uh, just kind of uh, running on using lingo. They don't know what it means. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like to kind of just like misguide people or
Yeah,
like
for sure, for
like a
sure.
misdirection.
Yeah, to kind of treat people like like they're beneath you. You
Or
know what
like
I
they're
mean?
dumb. Like
Yeah.
ah, I think the one thing I hate is that like politicians that are so disconnected from the reality of what's going on that I think that's what most people are tired of too is that they feel like they're not being represented or they're not and they're not
Yeah.
like I think if we go into the Constitution like there's supposed to be one representative per like I think it's 30,000, 35,000, and if we were going off of that and we redistrict everything to give everyone like proper number of representation as defined by the Constitution, every district would probably have two representatives in it, and that's a lot of representatives. But then people's voices are heard at least in the House. I mean, the Senate's always going to have two people, but
Yeah.
uh, uh,
What do you think's gonna fix it all?
like people have to. I mean, people are. I'm not condoning violence in any way. I say peaceful protest. People have to be willing to take to the streets even to like protest. Like or if there's if something's unconstitutional, you just gotta like you gotta stick to your guns on that and petition your government for a redress of like going to if there's something in the county that you don't like, St. Francis County. I think it would make sense to go to the county commissioner meetings, attend or watch them online, comment on them if they won't shut you out,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if they won't turn comments off for citizens. But
Yeah.
uh,
Delete comments even.
it that's ridiculous, man. And like things like that is what displaces public trust in public officials.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's so funny. You're talking about the assassination attempt a little bit ago, and I was listening to some of the testimony today from the FBI, the sitting FBI director after the sitting Secret Service director after the Secret Service director resigned the other day, and it's just like no matter what the question is, their answer is, well, we can't tell you that, but what we can tell you, and it's just this constant secrecy behind everything, and um, it's it's how our local government operates as well. Some of it's maybe by accident, but a lot of it is on purpose. There's a reason that local meetings aren't streamed. When they are, the quality is terrible. They don't value it. They don't value the community's input, so they don't give the community a proper portal into the goings on of their local government, of how their money is being spent, of how their taxes are being raised and planned to raise, and you know what I mean?
yeah. Well,
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing, and it does. We have to stop tolerating it. We have to show up at those meetings. We have to start running for things. People need to start running for things. There's no reason that you should look down a ballot every 2 years, and there should be, and there's nobody challenging incumbents.
like you have to be the change, man.
What are you
like,
gonna run for in 2 years?
um, I've thought about running for state representative myself, but
Yeah.
I think I'd be better as a Secretary of State. Now it might be, I might have to like work up to that, or
Yeah.
maybe start. I thought about starting with like city council, or going into the county.
Yeah.
That might be better. It might be better to start off local. And
Are you in Dave Cater's district?
Uh,
Or are you in District 1 or District 2?
I'm not sure
Not
actually.
sure. Okay. Where do you live at?
Liberty Street, Farmington.
Oh yeah, you're in District 1.
So Cater.
Carrie Buckley is your commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah, Carrie Buckley.
Good deal. Um. No, I think that people can if the whole county showed up to a county commissioner meeting, like they probably wouldn't know what to do. They honestly wouldn't have the capacity to hold that many people. But if we had that kind of involvement,
I don't know if they have the capacity to hold like 50 people.
well, and it's
Yeah.
sad that they've selected a venue
I think
that
if,
can't
if,
hold that.
if 10 people showed up, it would be kind of hard to find a seat in there.
Really?
Yeah, I mean there's state employees that show up to these meetings, so there's people there. I'm saying like if members of the public, 10, 15 members of the public showed up, yeah, it'd be probably hard to find a seat.
Well, and that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
If they have to find a new
that'd be
venue
awesome.
because there's so many people in the county wanting to be involved, like that's a good problem to have. I don't think we have enough input on a local level or even on a state level, and a lot of times there's candidacies that are just completely vacant. There's incumbents that
Yeah.
have no challengers, and
Well-
why not give someone a choice and run? Like,
Yeah, I think we've all kind of accepted this idea that politics is you shouldn't want to get into politics unless you're a scummy person. Who wants to get into politics? I don't want to get into politics. You know what I mean? But yeah, more of us definitely have to, because this is just getting ridiculous. Decisions that are getting made are they're not taking things seriously. We are in a pressure cooker right now. Things are going to break. Things are going to break. We saw them break. We saw, toilet paper not be on the shelves. Okay, that's something breaking. We saw beef not be on the shelves. Okay, it's another thing breaking. We saw our Constitution break. The trust we had in this document to protect us. They locked us down. How many businesses failed? A lot of this happened in conservative states, just like liberal states. And we need to prepare for when things break. You know what I'm saying?
because it's coming, man.
It's gonna come. It's gonna come. And the people that are at the levers of power don't seem to be taking it seriously. They seem to be really focused on sort of menial things, and part of it isn't because they're bad people. Most of the time they're really nice, good people. But I think they've kind of believed a lie, that their job is to do this specific thing and not to represent the people in whatever way they can. Not to serve their community with whatever powers they can find. Your county commissioners, for example, your whole job isn't just taking care of the roads. You are a leader in this community. We are going into war.
Well, and I would argue we're already in a culture war, man. Like,
Yeah, and I, who knows what happens over the next 12, 18, 36, 48 months. But I'm excited about I'm excited about the bike paths. But at the end of the day, what are we doing to make sure our community is growing as much food as possible? What are we doing to give our community the resources necessary to get ready for hard times? Are we thinking critically about how we provide energy to this community? Where is our electricity coming? Are we examining ways that maybe we could scale energy consumption so that we could negotiate a better rate? Because these are Great Depression problems that are right out in front of us that are kind of being ignored at the local level because they just don't think it's their responsibility. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. I do this one thing. It's like, yeah, but you have a louder voice than the average person, and it's scary for a normal person to walk into a county commission meeting and get behind a mic and have their say. It's not just your job to do the bare minimum anymore. You have to be willing to take some shots, um, and probably ask some pretty hard questions of the government that kind of has gone cold around you. You know.
Oh, absolutely. Um, I guess that leads me to ask you, like, I'm sure you've noticed a lot of the problems, like homelessness and the crime issue. That crime's gotten a lot worse in the past 2 or 3 years in Farmington.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about Fredericktown. I don't live down there, but just from what I've seen, like even in my around my apartment, there's drug traffic going. It seems like there's people walking around like uh, trespassing on people's properties. A lot of it's drug activity, but uh, other is criminal activity, and other of it, or other things, aspects of it, would be just people that are homeless, don't have anywhere to go. Like, uh, what would what would you do as a state representative to try to address some of these issues? Because they're pretty big issues, that I don't think are just going to go away.
No, they're not going to go away. They're going to grow, and our communities are going to continue to struggle from homelessness and from crime. I don't have a lot of answers. We have a sheriff's race going on in both counties,
Yeah.
and I can tell you we need strong, well-trained, accountable police departments and sheriff departments in our communities, and we need a police presence uh, on the street, interacting with these people, seeing what they can do to mitigate the exposure that these people's desperation has on the community.
Well, because police are public servants, man. Like, they're not just here to arrest. I was telling my buddy Ethan that the other day too. Is that they're, they're. I feel like police should have other responsibilities as opposed to just enforcing the law and crime.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I Churches need to really get involved here. Churches do. Whatever the state does to try to fix these things, it's going to make it worse. It's 100. I know it's not what people want to hear, but it is the truth. At a state level, at a government level, um, trust me, whatever they do, it'll make it worse. And so our churches really need to step up. Our community really needs to step up. Our law enforcement needs to step up and partner with the community and figure out where the line is as far as policing the community, making sure that the community feels safe, and also not turning St. Francis County into a police state. But the real solution is to not be a county in poverty or a district in poverty. It goes for Fredericktown and Farmington. And what you really see in rural America right now is the economic collapse of our money is heavily impacting our communities. Wages don't go up at the same rate out here, but the cost of doing business does, and inflation is just destroying populations. Um, on top of that, we have the fentanyl crisis, which has killed more people in the past 4 years than apparently Vietnam. I mean, that was a statistic I haven't confirmed that, but we need to not be poor, and so our city, our municipal, our county, our state level leaders need to get real focused on how our communities can become wealthy again, become prosperous again, and that's probably not again what people want to hear, because people want to raise taxes and give the government more money, assuming that the government will magically become responsible. Um, we hit
We all
$35 trillion
know
worth of debt yesterday. I mean, there's just no more money. I mean, that's how we need to operate. There's no more money. We need to fix these things at a community level with our churches, our with our families. We need to take care of our roads. We need to take care of our homes, and not expect anybody to come and do it for us, because they're not gonna.
Oh, exactly. Like, I community participation. Like, we really just need people to not be idle anymore. Like people are so. I don't want to call people sheep because then they're gonna get mad. But like people are sheep, man. Like they they only want to follow what the leaders are doing. And if we have bad leadership, then we're gonna have bad actions within the community. We're gonna have bad policy. I think it starts with making a leadership change too. Um, now, this is something that has been kind of a pressing matter. Well, not extremely pressing, but like me personally, I was on probation for a while for marijuana.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing, but paid my debt back to society, I guess you could say. In the realm of criminal justice reform, what do you see that could be done to improve, like like the justice system, the court system? Like is there anything that you see that could be done on a state level?
Well, I don't think that people should be put in prison uh, for anything that didn't harm another person. We're really struggling with prison overload right now. There's a huge deficit of funds for our prisons, and a way to it might not be our first option, but a way to solve that might be to start considering rehabilitation programs for nonviolent drug offenders across the board. Um, a lot of these people, be honest, we're consuming drugs that other people consume in a prescribed form, and I just think it's a little bit hypocritical for us to have these people locked up, especially when we can't even afford to have them locked up. You know what I mean? Obviously, is your record expunged?
It is expunged.
Yeah.
Now. On a federal level, it wasn't, because I tried to purchase a firearm like a week ago and they denied it. My attorney said it should just take like a year for it to fall off their national database. But I mean, that right there, I was told immediately, like as soon as my probation sentence was over, 24, 48 hours, all my rights would be restored. That shows you how inefficient the federal government is. They can't update their systems. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I have the right to bear arms, but federal government just hasn't caught up.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you're not going to get any better from them. There's no reason to assume that you're going to get better from them.
Oh. No.
They're pretty bad at everything now, and to have them sign up and offer to do anything else is just absurd. They can't even keep Trump safe.
Well, and like that, the whole thing with the Trump assassination attempt too is that now on Google has been censoring the searches for Donald Trump. You'll search Donald Trump, or you'll search assassination of D, and it'll be like, it'll list other people that have been assassinated, but they're censoring the Trump. And normally, whenever something huge like this happens, the media immediately comes out. This is what happened. This is how it went down. Like, this is the chain of events that occurred, and this is the result. We haven't gotten anything like that. Somehow the Trump assassination is just this looming mystery that the whole country doesn't really know what happened. We all saw footage of the man climbing up on this building, and the Secret Service had 20 plus minutes to catch this. People were alerting local authorities. I think there's a lot of coincidences that happened that something people had to have been involved with it. I don't know what, and I'm not gonna claim to know what happened, but I don't think there's just a coincidence, that all these things are happening. Uh, like I almost feel like the federal government has part of it, has had a part in the Trump assassination.
I think there's a big struggle for power in our federal government right now, for sure. That's probably what we're watching.
Like a deep state bureaucracy pushing back almost.
Yeah, and there's probably a couple different factions, I guess, but we're not safe from it, and um, all these cameras that they put up all over the
Oh
place.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, man, what's your stance on that? Cause me, I'm totally against that.
Yeah, 100% against it. 100%
Surveillance
against it.
state,
Tucker Carlson said yesterday, he was asked about whether or not people should be able to communicate privately in an encrypted manner, and he said privacy is the point. Without privacy, how can we claim to have any freedoms at all? And we have no privacy. Those cameras, they're tracking people all over the country now. My stance on them is I'm very, very against them. I was in the commission meeting when the sheriff asked for additional funds to cover a deficit in buying those cameras.
And did they consult the public before instituting this policy, or?
No, they paid for it out of the Sheriff Restitution Fund, LERF, the Law Enforcement Restitution Fund, I think is what it is, and they can make purchases out of that fund without public oversight. They have an oversight board of former police officers, primarily, and anyway, so that's how they purchased them, and then we raised the issue, like, hey, what are you talking about? We put in artificially intelligent solar-powered cameras all over the place. Well, no, they're license plate readers. And I said, no, they're not license plate readers. They're cameras that are taking pictures of vehicles. The license plate reader part is software. So,
well, I flip them off every time I pass them. Which is that's a little vulgar, but
no,
it's ridiculous.
It's a little vulgar them tracking us.
Well, we shouldn't be tracked. We're not animals, man. We're not animals. We're citizens, and the government's supposed to answer
We're
to
Americans.
us.
We have a birthright. We have a birthright that says that there is no person more important than me. There's no person more important than me in God's eyes, and there's no person over me in the Constitution's eyes. The Constitution codifies that relationship as every man is created equal. And we're supposed to have this governing structure that is our governing ourselves through representation and mechanisms to self-govern. We don't have that anymore. But none of this is given authority by God or the Constitution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I revolt against all of that. You can't presume the right to track my family under the pretense of keeping us safe. I don't buy it. You need to find another buyer for whatever you're selling. And I've challenged. I've asked respectfully in meetings, because I go to a lot of county meetings, go to a lot of city meetings, go to a lot of municipal meetings, whenever I can. Usually these things are like Tuesday at 10 or Monday at 9. They don't exactly make it easy for a young dad with 3 kids, to work in their schedule. But when I can go, I go, and when I don't, I watch them online. And you realize the mechanism with which these decisions is made is very friendly and very joking, but they're big decisions, man. Like whether or not we're going to have a surveillance system that hypothetically could be used by the Department of Justice.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so we've got a federal, potentially federally controlled surveillance system in our small rural towns now and we never had the conversation. Like maybe it's coming. Maybe we have to submit ourselves to, like, hey, we're just going to live in a world where everything is tracked and they see us all the time. And but here's the thing: if we're going to do it, I believe there should be some serious conversation, and it shouldn't be done by old men in their quiet corners of government without our input.
Right.
We can't turn these things off. Once they're up, they're up. I mean,
Well, nice. I don't even know who said it. I was reading through some Facebook comments and heard someone say that nice guys usher in surveillance states too. It's nice people can make tyrannical actions in a joking manner.
do
Because
you know where you heard that?
was that you?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I that's been what I've learned in 3 years of going to government meetings is really nice guys, and you can go out to lunch with most of these guys, and they'll make sure you feel heard, but at the end of the day, you know, when they figure out that they can use drones to audit our properties for taxes, they're going to use drones to audit our properties for taxes, and they're going to do it quietly, and they're not going to want people to find out because they know that people would be upset. And then when people do find out and they bring it up, they're going to say things like, well, we're only doing that because our property assessors were being threatened with violence. It's like,
I wonder
okay,
why.
well,
Like people have the inherent right, to their privacy, to protect their property, to close it off. Um, and I just think that the government is involved in way too many facets of our life. It should 50 years ago, maybe even 60 years ago, the government wasn't this involved in our everyday life. Like the next election really didn't play too big a part in many people's minds. People used to be able to just live their life not having to think about politics. But for me personally, like I feel like I have to think about these things because this is the country that I grew up in that I'm watching deteriorate, and if I don't get involved, then I'm part of the problem that's not doing anything to fix it.
yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. I mean, that's why I'm here. I got 3 kids. I want to be able to feed them no matter what. I want to make sure that there's air conditioning and electricity no matter what. And those seem like not certain things right now when I look 10 years, 15 years, 4 years, 3 years into the future. It seems like there's a chance that I'll struggle through rolling blackouts. Is that in the equation now? I think so. I think we could all say, hey, I mean, it looks like they're coming for our energy. It's already getting so expensive. Some people are having to make decisions about how they use their electricity
or pay rent or pay electricity.
Man, it's the squeeze is just getting started, and we have to push back. We have to push back. We cannot just take it lying down.
Well, and we need like an alternate way for people to exchange goods and services without the government being so involved. Whether that's bartering or I know there's some other things that we were talking about earlier. What's your view on getting the government out of our money? Like, what are some things that the normal person can do for that?
So there's a really good plan for it, and that plan has already begun, and it's going great. There's a problem with our money, and it takes a while to figure out what the problem is on your own, and it even takes a while to get your mind around it if people explain it to you. But I'll just make it as simple as I can. Our money has a lot of inflation, and this inflation, it destroys the purchasing power of the money. So I go and I put my energies, I work hard, I eat, I eat food, I turn that into labor, and I build a fence, or I lay bricks, and I take that energy and I put it in something. I put it in money. Typically, I put it in the U.S. dollar because I'm an American. When there's inflation, that money buys less stuff. One day, it buys more stuff than it will the next day, and you constantly have this like melting ice cube of purchasing power. You remember when we were kids, and we could buy like a lot of candy
Oh
if we
yeah.
returned some soda bottles or whatever and got a couple bucks and bought candy. Um, Now you take your candy bars like $3 at a gas station.
Yeah,
It's
like
freaking crazy. Our money through inflation is losing its purchasing power, and inflation is caused by the government printing money. When the government prints money, when it creates money, when the government spends money, they print it, which dilutes the money for the rest of us, and that creates inflation. And so the problem with the money is that the government has the ability to always make more of it and do what they want with it, buy their battleships and send money to Ukraine, pay for gay penguin studies in Antarctica. And, they can do whatever they want because they have the money printer. They can print the money. The answer to this is a new money, a money that nobody can print more of, nobody can dilute. And gold is probably the closest thing we have to something that is very hard to dilute. Um, and that means that gold holds its value really well through time. The problem with gold is that the government likes to confiscate gold. The other problem with gold is that it's hard to move gold. So if you can't take more than $5,000 or $10,000 of gold
hard to purchase
with you
quantity.
across the border. If you
wanted really?
yeah, you can't take more than $10,000 worth of gold across the border. They'll take it from you. Absolutely.
Oh really? They'll think you're like, or trafficking or something
Absolutely,
like that.
yeah. And then also, it's very difficult to spend gold. If I want to buy a loaf of bread from you, it's like, hey, here's some gold, and you're like, okay, well, I don't. I thought this was a good idea before the apocalypse, but now it's like I got gold, and I don't know how to, how much it's worth, how to
can't fractionalize it very well.
Exactly. So, we have this new money called Bitcoin. And when a lot of people hear Bitcoin, they get triggered a little bit. They hear magic internet money. When a lot of people hear Bitcoin, they think of crypto. And they think of all these scams that they've heard of. They've heard of maybe FTX or
those collapses.
These like huge collapses. And these things can easily distract from what's happened in the past 15 years, which is a really big societal shift in humankind. That's what a lot of Bitcoiners believe. And so, in the meantime, we have this cryptocurrency thing, and people are excited about digital money, and they're whipping up, Dogecoin and
meme coins
and all sorts of different coins, Ethereum, Cardano, and you could argue that some of these things have their own purpose, but none of them are like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a very unique thing in and of itself. It's very different than all the other cryptocurrencies. And that's because Bitcoin was designed to do one thing, be digital gold. And you could say that Bitcoin is gold, except it is digital, and so you can send it like an email. You can't send gold, to Nebraska to buy something on eBay, but you can very easily send Bitcoin to Nebraska to buy something on eBay. And so, in some ways, Bitcoin is better than gold. The ways that Bitcoin is like gold is that Bitcoin has a hard cap. There's 21 million Bitcoin. Absolutely 21 million Bitcoin. No more. There will never be more. Without getting into why, it's vastly impossible to create more Bitcoin. There is 21 million Bitcoin, and there never can be any more. And so, because of that hard cap on supply, when you invest in it, you can know for certain that more can never be created, and your purchasing power be diluted. And so, what this is going to do is save America. I mean, that's what I believe. I believe that most of our problems are because of that broken money we talked about a little bit ago. There's a problem. There's a problem in our federal government. They have this money printer, and they can't help themselves but print money for new projects. And that printing of the money dilutes our money, and it's leading to economic collapse. It's why the dollar has lost 99% of its purchasing power over the past, 70 years or so. If my great grandpa went and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, made a couple extra dollars at the end of the week, because they're making, almost, almost very little money in today's, money measurement. Yeah. And if he saved $1 and he said, I'm going to put away this dollar, I don't know what that represented, maybe 6 hours worth of work, $1, 3 hours worth of work, I'm not sure, an hour worth of work. If he saved $1, if he saved $10 for me, and I got that today, what the heck can I buy with $10?
Quarter tank of gas, maybe, depending on your tank size.
Yeah. I can't buy almost anything with $10. And so the ability for him to pass anything on to his bloodline is wrecked. He has to get out of that money. He has to find something else. He has to buy a house or buy gold and hope that he's able to hold on to these things and transfer them on. But now we have Bitcoin. And a lot of people are looking at the world and they're saying like, hey, everything's inflating. I bought these groceries 3 years ago and they were $200, and now when I reorder it on my Walmart order app, it's $407. What's going on? And they're freaking out. It's going to destroy a lot of people. But praise God, we have this new money, Bitcoin, and you can buy Bitcoin and you can hold Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will hedge you against the inflation that's coming for the U.S. dollar. And also what you're doing when you're doing that is you're taking your economic buying power out of the U.S. dollar system and you are trading it for Bitcoin. And in so doing,
it's going to increase your purchasing power.
Well, it's going to decrease the Fed's purchasing power. You're opting out of the federal government system. And so as their system implodes, because it is, they're going to go bankrupt. They can't continue to do this. They have $35 trillion worth of debt, and they just sent another $40 billion to Ukraine today.
That happened today. What the heck? See, that's why nobody wants to pay taxes, man. Like, nobody... It doesn't seem like an equitable exchange anymore.
So the only answer I see is for us all to say we're not going to use your money anymore, and we're going to use Bitcoin. And I know it sounds crazy, but Donald Trump. I see you're wearing a Trump hat.
Oh yeah, good firm supporter. So.
Donald Trump just spoke at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And people don't realize 20, 30, 40,000 people were there. Bitcoin is way further along than people have any idea of. Bitcoin is integrated with Cash App, it's integrated with Square. You can use Bitcoin on your phone. You can be your own bank. You can replace your banking relationship. Now, you have to take some responsibility for it. You have to be your own bank. But don't get sidetracked with all the other coins, with all the other crypto. It's unless you want to risk losing your money, stick with Bitcoin, and I think it'll radically change your life.
Also, this is not investment advice, just for anyone.
Yeah, it's not investment advice. It's not
we're
investment
not
advice. And the Fed. And study Bitcoin. Study Bitcoin. There shouldn't be any freak out, to buy Bitcoin. You should buy Bitcoin when you understand why it's important to buy Bitcoin. And if that's in 4 years, if that's in 8 years, if that's in 16 years, if that's in 30 years, that's completely fine. Bitcoin's going to be around for a long time. It's proven itself. It's not going anywhere. And at any point that you have studied why the hell your purchasing power is disappearing, why you can't afford anything, we'll study Bitcoin. And yeah, buy it when you're ready.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And yeah, it's not investment advice.
I always say that, like in past videos, I've said I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal
Oh,
advice.
it's hilarious.
I don't want to get
thought
sued.
about it, but I probably should.
Just 'cause I don't. You always got like people that just go on the internet and get advice.
There's only 21 million Bitcoin, as I said, and Donald Trump just this past week announced a U.S. strategic reserve of Bitcoin.
Really?
They're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin, 1 million of the 21 million. So, I mean, as far as investments are concerned, I really believe that Bitcoin is going to be a currency of our future. I don't think the dollar has much longer.
Well, and if the federal government gets involved with purchasing more Bitcoin and creates this reserve, would that give the U.S. any type of I guess hedge or or edge on other economies in the world? Or
Absolutely. I heard that I heard that Donald Trump said the other day that Bitcoin is the new oil. And I really do believe that. In the future, energy is going to be priced in Bitcoin. The dollar is just, it's collapsing too quickly to be pegged to, that's why one of the reasons we're losing the petrodollar.
And that deal ended a month and a half ago, roughly.
I think the Saudis just didn't re-sign.
It's really unfortunate for us because I'm sure in a few months we're going to start feeling the effects of that, if we haven't already.
We already are. If you go to Europe right now, food is so much cheaper. It's
Really?
Yeah, I have some family over there. My wife is from Finland. So yeah, we're struggling under huge amounts of inflation. People aren't even really aware of it. They tell you the inflation's down. Well, all the inflation that happened is still here. So unless you...
Well, the rate at which inflation is increasing has gone down. I think that's one of the things where the government's misdirecting people. They're like, inflation's gone down. No, inflation is literally the rate at which your money is being devalued. The rate at which your money is being devalued has decreased, but it's still being devalued. That's just that.
You sound like a Bitcoiner.
Yeah, I'm anything decentralized, you know, because the whole idea, ever since Nixon took us off the gold standard, it screwed us because fiat currencies innately, they decline in value. That's what they do because they're only backed by public faith and trust in the government that's backing that currency. And right now, I think public trust in the government is at an all-time low statistically.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen the website WTFhappened-in-1971.com?
No.
WTFhappened-in-1971.com. You should link to it.
Yeah, I'll put that in the description.
It's something fundamentally broke in our society, in our country, when Nixon took us off the gold standard. There's a fracture that happens deep in the heart of a people when their money becomes fake. And our money is fake. That's what it is. We all believe it because...
we just believe that it has
value. But there's no intrinsic value. And when that happens, weird things happen. And so that website, WTF Happened in 1971, is a very simple website with examples. It's mostly graphs of just strange things that happen, like marriage rates, the age at which people buy homes. All of a sudden, life becomes way more difficult for most people and way easier for those at the very, very top, closest to the money printer. And it's a problem, dude. Check it out. WTF Happened in 1971.com.
Awesome, yeah, and I'll link that into the description so everyone can take a look at that. I guess something else. This one's not on the list actually, but now that we're on the subject of corruption, we don't like the government. if you're elected, what would you do to fight the corruption in Jefferson City? Because I know, like, uh, I know people always have the greatest intentions, and there's been countless politicians that have made promises and whatnot. What are you gonna do to ensure transparency with your constituents and to ensure that you're not gonna become part of the problem with the corruption? You know what I mean, like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of know what you mean. I don't exactly understand what happens when you get in there. So clearly something happens. I think I've observed it. I believe. So I've been going to government meetings for 3 years now, and it seems like when you cross the threshold into this room, you become some type of agent of the state, some type of agent of the government, and um, it's interesting to listen to a government employee, somebody who gets paid with taxpayer dollars, complain about the government, how wasteful the government is, and then turn and talk about how important their department is and how everybody works so hard and how critical it is, and nothing would get done without their department. And I believe that that's what's happening at all levels. I think that they they get a little bit of power, a little bit of influence, and they think, well, I'm going to use this for good. You know what I mean? Because that's what we would all want to do, is use these things for good. You know, but they don't end up doing good. They end up growing the Leviathan. They end up growing this like beast of a government that just continues to take on more and more of the people's responsibility, and as the people give up more and more of their responsibility. And so, what can I do to make sure I don't become part of that machine? Um, well, I can be accountable. I can be accountable and transparent, but at the end of the day, the people need to hold their government accountable, and they need to empower their representatives to go and vote against things that maybe seem like they could help them in some way. Um, it's hard to turn down you know jobs coming to your area when it's when it's like some big subsidized package. You know what I mean? You want jobs, but sometimes you have to think about building your community slowly and not quickly, because what you end up with is infrastructure and government bureaucracy that can't be maintained. So I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't pay your government off of taxes, then you're relying on like the federal government to print money to fund your government for you.
Which is that's just a train wreck.
Well,
Like,
it's gonna be a train wreck. And how why do you think that your government is then your local government or your state government? Why do you think that they're going to govern for you? You're not even paying them.
right,
The
yeah.
federal government is the one paying them.
So who do they answer to? The people that's giving them money.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah, well, there was the sheriff debate at the public library here in Farmington, and there was this like large LGBTQ display that everybody had to walk past to go into the sheriff's debate. And I just sit out there like looking at this thing, just thinking like, it just seems like an affront to the community to some degree. People don't want this here.
Right.
But people aren't accepting this because they want their library paid for. Um,
Well, just like Congress can make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting it, like this LGBTQ stuff, like almost seems like the state's sponsoring that. that's an organization. They have they have their advocacy, and like I just think we have the right to organize, but when it's on the taxpayers' expense, like I don't think the state should be sponsoring like
Anything. They
religion.
should be
They
broke.
shouldn't.
They are broke.
The state shouldn't sponsor
I mean,
anything.
they shouldn't be doing literally anything now. They're completely broke.
They should answer. Well, and they should answer to us. And honestly, like with the budget, like I feel like the budget, like for a city should almost be like at least run by the people. Maybe not approved by the people, but like publish. This is our quarterly budget. Or this is what we're gonna do with our budget each quarter. I think that's the kind of transparency I'm looking for in the government too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. You should be looking for that type of transparency. We should be able to have. We should know what's going on. We should know what's going on in our town, in our county, in our state, in our government, by the people that we pay to govern this place for us. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just
No, you're fine.
I can get a little bit frustrated. Um, there's a lot of arrogance in thinking that you know what's best and how to spend other people's money.
Yeah.
It's not a Republican ideal to continually raise taxes on people and to think that socialism is going to fix anything. Socialism is not going to fix anything. It will make things worse. I can't, I'll always call it, how it's going to make things worse, but it always does. It always makes things worse. It always promises to make things better, and then it makes things worse.
Well, it almost seems like socialism's trying to mitigate individual responsibility, which is why I can't get with it.
Yeah.
It's like people need to be responsible. That's why I like capitalism and a free market.
Yeah.
If you're responsible, if you can manage things, I mean, like America's a land of opportunity, or so it's been said. You know,
Yeah.
I think that the American dream, I don't think it's dead. Like I think there's still that idea that we can start a business. We can go out and we can offer products and services, or we can go out and do something like this, have a podcast. Uh, and we're not at the whim of a government to tell you what to do. That's ultimately why I like the United States. I'm proud to be an
Yeah,
American.
amen.
Like
We have we have God-given rights defined in our Bill of Rights and protected by our Constitution. So this is the best place to be. It doesn't seem like It doesn't seem like we have enough tools to push back sometimes, but we do, and we are winning. And there are tools like podcasting and like Bitcoin that are going to help us do that.
absolutely, because we can't trust what the corporate media is saying anymore. Like the fact that we have to do this in
Yeah.
order, or like the fact that the Daily Journal like won't go up to you or Ethan or any other candidates and talk to them directly, do an interview. Like it shouldn't take independent media to
No.
get the word
No,
out
it's
about
good.
a local candidate. Like
And it's great to see, things like the Parkland Podcast and the
Yeah.
St. Francis Herald and these like alternative news spaces kind of coming out and starting to offer a voice to the people. I'm excited about it. I hope that's what this can be.
that's what I'm hoping. I think there's like this show's called Liberty Revolution, but I think the idea behind that is there's a revolution of people in America that are tired of sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
They're ready to jump in, be the voice in their local government, and they want to be the change. And if doing having a platform like this, gives people you know gives them a voice, a way to get the message out, then that's what I'm all about, man.
Yeah.
I love doing stuff like this, and we're probably running short on time, but I guess I'll just ask a few more questions if you don't
dude.
mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So I could probably guess your your stance on taxes, but like if elected, like what are your more pressing issues relating to taxation of Missourians?
Yeah. I'll never, I'll never vote to increase taxes, ever. And every opportunity I get to vote on decreasing taxes, I will do so. And I think there's some like proposals to do that. Like Bill Eigel is proposing, I think, to get rid of some type of tax. I'm for that. Uh,
Whether
yeah,
it's state income or personal property, like, I don't care. Like, if we can start chipping away at these.
this is a way to make our communities prosperous again. You know, I don't. We don't need the government to redistribute wealth in our communities. We do not need socialism. This is not. This is not a Republican idea. This is not a conservative idea. We should stop pretending that increasing taxes is somehow virtuous. Giving more money to the government is not virtuous. I'm against it.
The government's not here to help.
They've got
man.
plenty. They'll figure it out. I'm not worried about them anymore.
Well, and like, I had this conversation with other people. Like, the government gets money essentially from two ways. They can tax people, or they can they can
Print it.
offer they can offer well, I guess three ways. They can print money, which is secretly taxing people with
Yeah,
inflation.
for sure.
Um, they can uh, they can raise taxes on people and collect money from people directly, or they can increase the incentives and interest rates for the return on government issued bonds, and they get money from investors. Now, if there was a tax protest, this is just an idea in case anyone really wants to start organizing this.
Yeah.
Wink,
Yeah.
if everyone were to get together, it maybe not even everyone. If a third of people just got together and stopped paying taxes, uh, you know, the government would be forced to, make it more to raise the incentive for bonds to raise money that way, which would make it a riskier investment for investors. What kind of investor is going to want to invest in a government that's possibly on the verge of collapse?
Yeah.
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 We have power.
I've heard the tax. What did you call it?
Oh, secret tax or
No, you call it the tax protest.
yeah, like an organized tax protest.
Yeah,
like,
an organized tax protest. I've heard of this idea, and I just think that it would give them a great reason to put us all in prison. I think they would love that. In fact.
Well, can they put everyone in prison?
Man, I don't know. I don't want to try to put it past them. I mean, I think they might try, but
I almost
I'd
feel
say,
like it's worth it.
I'd say, why don't instead just, I study Bitcoin. Study Bitcoin. I think we'll get a lot further down that road, if we really want to strike a blow to the current corrupt financial system. Study Bitcoin.
Oh, absolutely. It's like the Federal Reserve. Like we were talking about this before the show, but the Federal Reserve, it's not a government entity. It's not federal. It's not a reserve bank. So
It's in total collusion with all the worst parts of our government. But yes.
well, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. Before this bill passed into law, they had a secret meeting about this. We're gonna pass. They tricked the middle class of 1913 into passing this, thinking that this income tax is going to be very great. And shortly after, I think it was the 16th Amendment they passed, which allows Congress to institute an income tax on the federal level. We never had that until 1913. The federal government was funded on excise taxes and tariffs. Which a lot of people don't like the idea of tariffs, but it's almost that it's a little bit of government manipulation.
Yeah, it's a lot of government manipulation. You sound a lot like Bitcoin. You're welcome. You're welcome in this community. Yeah, man. You got another question? One more question?
Yeah. So the southern border. Everything going on. That's a hot issue. That's the number one issue with Americans going into the presidential race. Now I know this is a state. This is a state race you're running for, but how do you feel about what's happening with the crisis at the southern border? What's going on in all these states, and like what do you think that we can do as Missourians to to help ease this issue of illegal immigration? Because yeah, I mean, our system can't handle so many people coming in. Like it's going to collapse our system just based on resources if we continue to let, in my opinion, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the federal government causes so much chaos, dude. And when you really think about the amount of problems we have, and because of the federal government, I mean, they're funding NGOs and moving these people up towards us, are they not? You
Yeah,
know?
they're literally transporting them.
I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what we're gonna do. We got rough times ahead, and we should probably be having these conversations instead of talking about whether or not we can get some cheap grant money to build a bike path.
Right.
I mean it. I mean it. We need to be like round tabling, like, hey, what are we gonna do when the homeless population triples? Okay, because people are talking about like, oh, what are we gonna do about it now? And it's like, hey, I mean, it hasn't even gotten started yet. We're gonna have really hard times, people, and I think we need to be talking about, uh, uh, you know, I think we need to be talking about that all together. I don't know. I don't know what we can do. I think we're probably going to. I don't know, Willie.
It's a hard
I
one.
think we're gonna have to deport a lot of people. It's gonna be horrific. It's gonna be horrific.
Well, that's gonna take a lot of cooperation with law enforcement.
I mean, I can tell you what my wife's an immigrant, and I got 3 American children with my European wife, and we've been in immigration hell for 7 years.
Really?
Yeah, we got married, and she got her green card, and when she went to go convert her 2-year green card into a 10-year green card, she was a couple weeks late on her paperwork. She misread the date, the filing date deadline.
Oh goodness.
In Europe, their dates are day, month, year, and in America, our
Month,
dates
day.
are month, day, year. And so she misread the date, filed 2 weeks late, and they put my wife's case in the deportation stack. Okay, so my wife, for 7 years now, has been in this system, and we've been waiting to see a judge. So I've got a lawyer, it's just been this black hole of money we've poured money into trying to resolve this issue. And it's just unresolvable. We have to get in front of a judge, and they'll send us a date, be in Kansas City to see a judge on this date, and then we'll be coming up on that date, and they'll send us a letter and they say we postponed it a year. And then they'll send us another letter when we get close to that date, we postponed it another year. And then they started sending us letters that would postpone it 2 years.
What?
They were literally sending us letters postponing, it's giving us a court date, hey, we're postponing the court date, it'll be in 2 years.
And that's legal immigration too.
And this is so again, my wife is, at this point, she has 3 American children. She's married to an American. We own property here in America. And she is in this bureaucratic hellscape. We just went to Kansas City recently, finally saw that judge. Guess what they did? They gave us another court date.
Postpone it.
In January. And there's just no resolving it. And so I tell you this whole thing to say, our government is bad at absolutely everything they do. They're absolutely incompetent. They cannot keep the president safe. They cannot run the post office. The DMVs are the worst ran businesses in the country. Okay? We cannot rely on the government to do absolutely anything. And when they barely get by, like with the roads and the bridges, when they barely get by, it's so damned expensive now. They can't do anything without paying 3 times what it would cost the private sector to do. And I'm not arguing that everything needs to be privatized. The government ironically, is designed to be inefficient. You do not want an efficient government. You want a government that is slow. That way, when it decides to kill everybody, it's slow. Okay?
People can push back.
Yeah, when they decide, hey, we're going to vaccinate everybody, you don't. It should freak you out when you see the government act really efficiently. But that means you don't rely on the government to do things like fix the homeless population. And when it comes to the southern border and the drug problem, I think all of these things have been, at least exacerbated by government action, and in some cases, absolutely designed by government action. I mean, how often do we, have some potentially earth-ending catastrophe like ISIS ripping across the Middle East, and then come to find out these dorks were they developed ISIS. I mean, this is like the story that me and you were probably learning, as we grow up in this country, and we were taught a certain narrative, and when we hear songs like I'm proud to be an American, we tear up a little bit, and it's hard for us not to remember what it was like to see the towers hit. And now we look back and it's like, hey, homie, what was going on back then? Did you hear they shot JFK?
And it's like, what other things are the government
The CIA killed JFK. I can say it because Donald Trump is saying it, because Trump Jr. is saying it, because RFK is saying it. So now the Overton window is opening, and we're realizing, like, hey, there's this Leviathan, this creature that just wants to be bigger and bigger and bigger and have more and more control. And it always presents itself as the Papa state or the nanny state. Oh, it's going to care for you. Oh, we need to have a Social Security fund set aside for the old people. Okay, well, guess what? The Social Security is supposed to go bankrupt. And you know what? I just found out. They're paying. I mean, I hope Social Security is around when I get there. But just so you know, while it's going bankrupt, I just found out that they made Ukrainian refugees eligible for Social Security benefits.
Like SSI?
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah, Ukrainian refugees are eligible for certain Social Security benefits.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So
we're not even taking care of our own citizens, though.
No. We're oppressing and abusing and taxing and
we're doing all this to abusing our citizens in order to prop up these illegals that are coming here. And it's like,
so you asked me, hey, so I'm running for state representative in District 116, and I am running for the job to represent this district in Jefferson City in front of a government that is part of the apparatus that is oppressing us. I don't know what I can do to make things better, but I can go and I can push back. And I'm going to go and push back. That's what I want to go and do. I want to go and push back. I want to go and pray for courage and get up, stick my hand in the air and say, like, hey, guys, so what are we going to do now that we've got this, apparent new pandemic starting up? Are we going to step in line with whatever the USDA tells us, the way we stepped in line when the CDC told us their guidelines? Are we going to push back on this? The CDC is right now encouraging their ninth booster. Their ninth booster. And they're recommending it to 6-month-olds and up.
And here I am. I've never even been tested for COVID. I've never been vaccinated. I never had the thing. I'm like, back in the day, I was a bit conspiratorial. I'm like, they're probably putting some nano, bots or something on the test. I'm like, I'm not gonna be tracked. Now I'm just like, it's a principle thing, I
might have gotten the nanobots. I took a PCR test. I got COVID. I was sick for a little while, and then I got better. My wife got COVID. She was very, very sick. It scared me. It really did scare me. I never thought I was going to lose my wife, except in that case, and it was really terrifying for a day or two. But then she got better, and we took the ivermectin, the people ivermectin,
Really?
not the horse dewormer, and then I guess we had natural immunity, but we didn't get the vaccines, but we were restricted from travel because we wouldn't get vaccinated. It was very difficult for my family. I had a um, my step grandfather passed away in a hospital.
They wouldn't let you see him?
No, no, they wouldn't let anybody see him. Um, so it's I have a friend and neighbor who lost his business. This affected everybody. The most oppressive thing in our lives. Guess what I'm going to say? The government. The federal government is the most oppressive thing in our lives now. The state government needs to push back on the federal government, and if the state government isn't doing that, then we need to push back on them, and that's what I want to go to Jefferson City and do. I'll make things better that I can make better, and I'll be really transparent, and I'll make sure that I'm messaging on Facebook, that you guys can find us on Instagram, that you know what's going on. You guys should know that the people shouldn't have to wait for some annual newsletter wrote by some assistant to find out what's going on in Jefferson City. This should be um, readily accessible information.
Like a daily thing almost. Like,
Yeah, I mean during session, I think that's absolutely. Listen, hey, I'm not. Maybe you guys don't want to sit and watch me walk through Jefferson City on Facebook Live, but maybe listen to me. I'll let you know what's going on. I'll bring I'll bring the ingredients and we can try to make the soup.
oh, absolutely, man. Um, well, I'm very excited for you, and
Hey, thanks, dude.
no, I.
Hey, by the way, I know this is a libertarian podcast, and I just want to make an appeal to libertarians to vote for me on August 6th. And this is my reason. I'm not a libertarian, I'm a Republican. But I think Vivek Ramaswamy has really painted this picture of a conservative Republican and libertarian alliance, this nationalistic ideal that we can take our country's monetary policy back, and that will make a lot of things a lot better. And by defunding the beast, we starve Leviathan. August 6th, to libertarians living in District 116, you can vote libertarian, but I will remind you that if you want a voice in the sheriff's race in Madison County or St. Francis County, you're going to have to pull a Republican ticket. There is no libertarian sheriff candidates. There's no Democrat sheriff's candidates. So come November, me and Ethan Jones can slug it out, Republican versus libertarian, and I look forward to many debates. We'll hold them publicly. It'll be a good time. But August 6th, you guys should pull a Republican ticket. You should vote in your sheriff's race, whoever your sheriff's pick is. And then you also should vote against all the incumbents. Just vote the incumbents out. I'm not an incumbent. Vote Ryan Cooper in.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for watching, and Ryan, thank you again for inviting me to your home,
Dude,
and
yes.
and doing this.
Super glad you came.
This has been awesome. Like one of my earlier episodes of the podcast, and I think it's going.
Yeah, I'm
pretty
excited.
well.
I think you're gonna do big things. I just saw the CEO of Rumble talk the other day.
Really?
Talk with Dave Smith. No, with Russell Brand. Russell Brand,
really?
the CEO of Rumble, talked together at the Bitcoin conference. It was pretty awesome. And we should feel very hopeful, man. We've got podcasts. We've got Bitcoin. We've got cheaper and cheaper electricity as we learn to produce our own electricity regionally here. And in Missouri, we have pretty good protections for our way of living, for our freedom ideals. And we need to make some serious improvements there. We need to defend the right to consume whatever food we want, to distribute whatever food we want. I don't need some federal government telling me what my kids can eat or what I can sell to my neighbors. Get out of here, you freaking dorks. We can make it. We can make this the best state to produce electricity in. And I'm telling you, man, there's some really awesome things with nano-nuclear coming out in the next 5-10 years. We cheapest electricity in the country right here in Missouri. If we can fly that flag, fly that banner. I'm excited about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe we'll get you running a Bitcoin mine.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I just need to learn about it.
If the United States of America are going to start putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet and treasury to hedge against this inflation, St. Francis County, Madison County, our towns, they should all start putting some of their treasury aside in Bitcoin. I know that seems a little bit crazy, but it's absolutely one of the ways that we can make sure these federal problems, these globalist problems, don't become our problems.
Oh, absolutely. No, well, thank you again,
Yeah,
Ryan.
dude.
It was been a pleasure.
Hey,